Bow! Papa's here once again, and today I got a beautiful ward build of sandociousness for you. All right, what is this? It's rolling magma time. That's right, Transformers, hit it! All right, on the more serious note, this is, of course, a mercenary league, the mercenary league. And what would this build be without but a beautiful, amazing blade biter, I call him, Crimin the Dealmaker mercenary. That's right, he, ladies and gentlemen, he is keeping me alive right now. Why is that, you may ask? Well, I'm not sure if you've seen a ward build before, but I have a permanent wardage up. It's kind of like a shield, but not really. But it depletes as soon as you get hit, right? And so the intent is to have some ward as another defensive layer, but through some beautiful, amazing mechanics, you could make it so that you have the ward up permanently. So if you have 10k ward up, for example, you get hit for 10,000 damage. It doesn't go to your energy shield, it doesn't go to your life. It hits against that beautiful ward shield wall. I'm gonna call it wall, brick wall, and just takes it, and that's it. There's nothing to it. You get to keep living and living and doing your own thing. But this build is susceptible to dot damage. Therefore, we focus on mitigating said dot damage. For example, I have a stunning, nay, magnificent jewel, crimson jewel to be exact, that prevents corrupted blood to be inflicted upon my person. Yay. So I don't take corrupted blood damage. Now, I also have a wonderful Watcher's Eye that enables me to be unaffected by bleeding and poison while I am affected by male violence aura. And I do not run the aura. My mercenary does. So if he decides to scooch on, like take a couple steps to the right in a heat of the battle when I need him the most, be close to me, then I can have a bad time. For the most part, though, we haven't really ran into this problem too much. But yes, I am being extremely greedy. Instead of me running the malevolence aura, my mercenary is. I think I could have spent a little bit more time and actually find a mercenary that would have, because he has grace and malevolence. I could have maybe found one, I don't know if they exist, with grace and haste, because I am running haste myself to be a little bit more speedier, because we don't have a quicksilver, we don't have silver, we don't have any kind of easy and fast ways to get movement speed. Hence why I'm running haste. The first and only build in my 12 years of playing that I'm actually running haste myself. You heard it here, folks. That's great and all, Papa Z, but how are you immune to Ignite, for example? Great question. I, myself, run Purity of Elements, so that enables me to be immune to all of that dot damage. So really, the only dot damage we're afraid of, like random boss dot damage or just random any kind of dot damage that can get through our defense eye, through our wall of brick ward walls. That's the kind of, dot damage that we're afraid of. But they are far and few in between. We do have decent amount of defenses. Like, for example, I'm running Flesh and Stone in Sand Stance to take just a slightly bit less damage. This could be a great spot to maybe run Arctic Armor or other kind of defensive auras, maybe Determination or what have you. Personally, I am satisfied how this build turned out, both offensively and defensively. We don't have some of the mechanics we used to have in the Kalgur League, so I had to do with what I had, okay? I did spend quite a bit of money on this build. For example, Nemesis, the armor, and a few other pieces were quite expensive. I would say this build is maybe roughly around 100 to 150 divines right now, but it depends on the league start, depends on if you're playing it now, next league, 10 leagues from now. And then, why did I pick Rolling Magma, you ask? I know, that's been on the tip of your tongue this whole time. Well, like any build, I always say you guys gotta test. Test it out. What skills you like, what skills you don't like, clear speed versus dot versus single damage versus whatever. And so just like all the rest, we can look at that right now. So yeah, so here you can see I tested a bunch of different ones. Blazing Salvo, Ball Lightning, Spark, whatever. I mean, a whole bunch of different ones just to kind of see what did the most damage single target wise, and also what felt the best for clear. And unfortunately, or fortunately, if you love the skill, unanimously, the best skill by far was the Rolling Magma. Like I've really loved Spark, and it's been like 3 years since I played Spark. But honestly, for clearing, I had some latency issue there. For clearing, absolutely wonderful, awesome. Single target, blah. This is my mercenary. Nothing crazy, nothing special. I gave him some wasp nest for a little bit of damage, and more importantly, gain life on hit, so he wouldn't die too quick. Some increased effectage of non-curse auras, and then everything else is kind of sucky. I mean, seriously, no, I didn't give this guy nothing. I feel bad. But he has the Malevolence and Grace. I wish I would find one, like I said, that would have Haste and Grace, and maybe even a way to apply Wither, since the only way I am able to do it right now is through the Withering Step, and it only inflicts 9 at a time. Alright, so onto my gear. Again, these beautiful, amazing, whatever, throwaway, profane, bloom wands, and omen wands. They're just kind of whatever. Definitely need the increased mana regeneration rate on this build because we're casting a ton and we need to redeploy the mana as quickly as possible. Nimbus, that I bought this like a month ago. I meant to use it sooner, but alas, here we are. So the core of the build is Faith Guard if you never played this, so increases and reductions to maximum energy shield applied to ward. We have this beautiful, fantastic chest piece. I think this is like 30 or 40 divines. And then we have the Yanda Stand Sudden Belt. Sudden. So gain ward instead of 60% of armor and evasion. So you want as much evasion and armor as you can find on your build. This one's quite good, but you can definitely get over 4K if you have the budget for it. And then last but not least, Beacon of Madness. This is what enables us to have all damage inflict poison, and while we're affected by Glorious Madness, and we are as soon as we enter, while we have to activate it, we are. And then Olralth's Resolve Iron Flask. Ward does not break during effect. So essentially, we have this little thing, which, so you are gaining less flask charges and you have flask reduced effect. You have reduced life energy recovery rate. Don't care about this. You are taking increased damage, so that one sucks. But again, with 14, 15, 16,000 ward, we don't care that much. And then you are slowed. But so this paralysis touch. This is why you either have to play a Juggernaut or a Trickster because of this ascendancy node. Your action speed is at least 108 base value. If you don't have that, you're going to be very, very slow. And so that's kind of the key to all of this, to basically have permanent word uptime, as much word as possible, and then still building some defensive layers. Here we have the Watcher's Eye, which grants me the immunity to poison and bleed. Here we have the Corrupted Blood immunity. And as you can see, I have a flask, medium cluster jewels, 2 of them. Just kidding, 4 of them. That's another thing too. Like I bought these back a long time ago, few divines. Maybe they're quite a bit more, especially late in the league. If you were to craft them yourself, or if you were to get ones that are actually better than this, something like increased effect, but on top of that, increased charges gained, you might probably get away with just a 2 instead of 4. And that would create, or maybe even just 3, so that would give you additional points to use elsewhere. Don't forget Runegraft of Fortress. This is a huge one. Reduce attributes, kind of sucks, but increase global defenses. Ward is a defenses, so that works absolutely. Damage, I think, okay, less damage taken. So again, less damage taken over time, that's huge. Leaf Shade, 50% less damage taken if you started taking it recent or in the past second, so that's pretty good. We have the Trader, so we're using Brutal Restraint with some flask charges gained. But next couple of those, I'm going to grab this one, and then Spell Suppression, Chances Lucky. In the POB, I think I updated it, but basically we have something like 80% chance to have Spell Suppression, so that's pretty huge. That's pretty nice. Everything else, yeah, kind of hopefully self-explanatory. Less damage taken from hits every 10 seconds. That's kind of cool. A little bit of damage and recovery. That's kind of nice. Ton of different things you can do. You can try. Like I think last league I tried it as a Juggernaut melee, but we had access to like 2400 elemental damage, two-handed swords, so it worked out pretty good. This league we don't have that, so I built this build. So here we are. Yeah. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time with another beautiful